All right, so Adam, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to those who don't already know you?
So I'm Adam Doan, and I am the departing stream project manager with Ulster County Soil and Water Conservation District here at the Ashokan Stream Program.
How long have you been here at the program?
This is my 15th year, so a decade and a half.
Wow.
I know, it's scary.
So why don't you talk a little bit about your, career journey with AWSMP and what excited you when you took the initial job and your path to your current position over the last 15 years?
Okay. Well, when I took the job, I was actually working as Prospect Park Alliance's aquatic ecologist down in Brooklyn. And I thought it was interesting. I was super excited to get up to the Catskills when I saw the opportunity and applied and knew that I was being offered the job because I managed the park's aquatic resources, with the staff that we had back then. And the whole water course, which ultimately culminates in like a 50-some acre lake, all starts from a hydrant hidden in the woods. That's Catskills water. It comes from the water supply system, so it's tapped into the New York City water supply system. So it was kind of interesting going from like the delivery system down there, which fed into this like completely, that was a complete ecosystem on its own, but completely artificial, to coming up to do like the source water work and work where the water was actually coming from the natural environment. So that was really got me super interested in the job and making that connection. The other part was just escaping the city and getting up into the Catskills was a huge draw. So we were currently at the time looking to get out of the city and found this opportunity. So I actually started with the program as the Catskill Streams Buffer Initiative coordinator. So I came in just as the program was kind of getting up and running, like we were talking about earlier, in 2009, and took over that role. And then had done that through a lot of the big flooding that happened in 2010 and 2011 until my predecessor had left in 2012. And then I took over as the stream project manager. So, and that's the position I've been in now for 12 years.
And had you been up here to the Catskills and seen the Esopus before you took this job?
When I accepted, we were up with a group of friends at like a rental, and I remember calling my old executive director and letting him know that I accepted the job and was looking forward to it. So I'd had a little bit of experience with the Esopus, but not much. Actually, back then, everybody I knew called it the Esopus, so I quickly learned that was not the right way to pronounce it when I got here, which is important when you're trying to work with the local community. So, but then I started exploring it a lot in those early years because I took up fly fishing around the time that I started up here, and was out most nights after work fishing all around the watershed. So I really got some nice time on the water, both the Esopus and the main tributaries as a result of those recreational activities. And actually the reservoir a lot. We actually fished the reservoir quite a bit back then and would wade the shores and stuff. So.
And what were you fishing for?
Trout when we were in the creeks, but there's a really nice smallmouth population in the reservoir, and also carp and stuff like that too, so which are a lot of fun on the fly rod. So.
Yeah, very fun. And so spending all this time on the stream, both fishing and through work, can you share a moment that really solidified how important the Esopus Creek was and how it's such an important body of water to conserve both the creek and the greater watershed?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think through my education, like previous employment, I was pretty well versed in at least watershed science and stuff like that. So I knew the importance in the big scheme of it being the New York City drinking water supply system and what the importance of source water protection for a program like that would be. But I think what really solidified me in just terms of my impressions of what working with the streams up here was going to be in this mountainous terrain was the floods that occurred in 2010, and then Tropical Storm Irene in 2011. I started in 2009, 2010. Like I was saying earlier, we had flooding that came down Phoenicia Main Street, and I think it was 2 months apart, and then follow that up the following year by Tropical Storm Irene. So we really got to see just the impact on the communities and the need for programs like we have in terms of helping manage and provide guidance for how people can live a little bit better with the streams, given this mountainous terrain that provides a lot of opportunity for the streams to do a lot of work.
What do you see during the flooding?
I I've always really keyed in on sediment movement. So just seeing the amount of sediment moving through the system was really impressive. You know, we get these high energy mountain streams, as you all know, like they're very flashy, but they just can move a tremendous amount of sediment over a short time. So that was really impressive. I mean, we saw entirely new channels of stream cut over the course of like Tropical Storm Irene, especially up in Oliveria. And that was really impressive to see. Also disturbing because of how destructive it was and knowing the impact on the local community. But yeah, really just seeing the sediment move through the system was really kind of fascinating for me over the years.
Yeah, it seems like sediment is kind of a overarching theme of your career here at AWSMP.
Yeah, it's impossible not to be. You know, that's the geomorphology side of it is really kind of the story of sediment moving through the system. And, you know, don't want to overly simplify it because there's so many other components that come into that. But, you know, sediment's kind of destiny when it comes to managing rivers, especially these type of rivers. So it's important to be aware of that and try to understand it the best you can because it's a really hard concept to fully understand. And I mean, despite the efforts this program's made, there's still some mystery to it. So
if you could have one topic or one thing about sediment dynamics that you could impart after 15 years here, if you could drop one truth bomb about sediment dynamics, what would it be?
I mean, really just focusing in on competence and capacity. So like that's what it kind of breaks down to is like, can you move the largest size particle that's being delivered at any given location? And then can you move like kind of the annual load? Because if you're not, you're going to be either in a state of degradation or the state of aggradation, which is going to lead to the stream doing some funny things. So yeah, really kind of understanding that balance and how when that gets disrupted, you can anticipate what trend the stream's going to take in terms of its evolutionary path.
Here's a moment for you to brag. What are some of the accomplishments from your tenure at AWSMP that you're super proud of?
Probably the impact of the larger restoration works on improving the water quality, specifically reducing suspended sediments and turbidity. You know, we've got pretty extensive monitoring now as a result of the work that the city and USGS have done, and it's really starting to tell the tale of those projects and their effectiveness on reducing turbidity. So like seeing something like the Stony Clove, which a lot of the restoration work that started in like 2012 and you know the years after that, because we've done so much work up there with it being the primary sub-basin that was delivering a lot of suspended sediment into the system. Like seeing how that system has just kind of changed even anecdotally, which we have the science to show that too. But hearing from like even like the angling community that the Stony Clove used to bleed for months, but because of the work we've done, like yeah, we're still going to get suspended sediment in the system. Like there's no way to eliminate that fully, especially during different size flow events. But it just seems like that stream cleans up so much more quickly now after these big like floods that mobilize about a lot of sediment. So, and that's really been neat, and hearing about it from the towns, hearing about it from like the anglers, like I mentioned, and some of the groups that we interact with a little bit more frequently has been really rewarding. And I have to say, like, I'm not by any means saying that that's the credit of just me. Like, the cool thing about this work, and part of the reason that like it's really, I think, engaging for me is like the multidisciplinary aspect of it. Like it brings so many different people with diverse backgrounds together to really do the work that we do. And so like it takes, the consultants, it takes the city staff from the SMP, it takes us as the local SMP, it takes the town's participation, like all this, and the individual landowners, because we're oftentimes working on private property, to really make these projects a success and pull them off. And there's a lot of hat tips to pass around for that, because it's never been just me as the project manager. It's been the team here, and the team beyond just this office that we get to tap into. So.
And how many of these large stream restoration projects have you been involved in?
Should have known you'd ask something like that. I don't remember, but it's been a lot. So it'd be, the Chichester project, Warner Creek. We've now done 3 projects. Going up valley, we've got the Stony Warner confluence. Stony Clove above Jansen Road, Riot Road, Stony Clove Lane. We've done a project now in Woodland Creek. The Beaver Kill has 2 sites that have been projects in the past. So I mean, I'd have to add it up, but it's been well over 10 plus projects now, and those are like the large scale. So probably closer to 15.
And what's been your role in those projects?
Well, I've been the stream project manager, so it's kind of like the person that's doing the project management from conception in terms of like identifying a site and proposing it. So we're doing projects that meet the filtration avoidance determination deliverables New York City has. So identifying projects through our assessment and monitoring or interactions with our various working groups and just knowledge of the watershed. And then taking a project into the design phases. So working either, in the past we've done some in-house designs through our relationship with Natural Resource Conservation Service, but we also rely a lot on consulting engineers. So working with the consultants to get through a design review process that we feel confident that what's being proposed is going to be the right fit for that particular spot within the watershed in that project. To construction contracting, so we're a public entity, so we go through a public bid process for procurement, and then doing the construction management, and so that either be in conjunction with our staff if we're doing it in-house, or the consultants that we work with to implement the project and make sure what's put on the plans is installed. During construction, there's a lot of adaptability that's needed because you just never know what you're going to encounter, and because of the dynamic nature of the environment we're working in, you really need to be adaptable. So pretty much all phases, and then what this program is really great for is that we don't just build the project and walk away, we monitor it. So then it moves into this, what phase would that be? If the phase 1 is project identification, phase 2 is design, phase 3 construction, phase 4 is really project monitoring post-construction, so that we can really learn from what's working and what's not working. And so I've been a part of all those aspects over the course, and it obviously involves many of the staff that are here at the Ashokan Stream program. So, and then working with program development, because this program's grown so much over the last 15 years. We didn't have things like the flood hazard mitigation program up and running, the flood buyout program, the local flood analysis. I was at the table with the initial talks in developing a lot of those programs, so that the local feedback from our municipalities was represented, as well as just us as the local stream people. So yeah, it's kind of like this project-specific management, but then program management as well, from that position.
And you were talking a little bit about, how you've been involved with the towns, landowners, angling groups. It sounds like you've really been involved in a lot of our stakeholder working groups. So I'm curious to hear what stakeholder working groups you've been involved in, and a little bit about why you enjoy working so much with these groups.
Mm-hmm. I typically will at least be at the table for most of the working groups, with maybe the exception of Access and Rec. I haven't been at as much. Or we have an E&O working group, which obviously you all on the Cornell side do more of that. So I haven't really engaged as directly with those groups, but the ones that I've been more involved in are the Stream Ecosystem Working Group, and then the Highway Managers Working Group, and then the Flood Hazard Mitigation Working Groups, I'd say. And I've really liked aspects of all of those groups because it's such important work, but I'm very fond of the Stream Ecosystem Working Group because of the partnership with our research partners, and just how important that is in terms of identifying kind of the applied science needs. So we're an applied science program that relies on the research of outside entities to then apply at the local stream management level. And that's just an important part of being involved in those discussions around identifying research needs that help us advance the work that we do. In terms of the Highway Managers Working Group, that's just such a rewarding group too, because there's so many potential for, I think, conflict with the road stream network up here. We've developed our valley bottoms, our road stream crossings, bridges and culverts are in direct contact with these streams on a daily basis, and there's just always been a lot of potential conflict in those environments. So working with the highway managers to identify like issues within their towns, and then working through this process, whether it's through our SMIP program, to identify implementation solutions. Like that's just been really fun and rewarding, and they're a great group to interact with. So I've always enjoyed that.
Why don't you highlight some of the, applied science that is getting accomplished through this stream ecosystem working group?
That's a good question. So we are doing, like we're part of a bigger study right now with USGS, fisheries researchers. Scott George is the lead on that, in looking at the impact of the stream restoration projects on the fisheries and the physical fish habitat of the restoration work. So we're doing like pre-monitoring, both geomorphic and fisheries, and then post-construction monitoring. And this is going to be like a longer term study that'll exist well after I'm gone now, 10 plus years potentially. And that's neat because I think it's really going to give us an opportunity to really start to look at like, what are the really important physical habitat features? Like we know these streams for the most part support cold water fishery. So being able to like start to key in on specific features within a stream restoration design that are important for supporting and sustaining that fishery, given the local importance, both economically, recreationally, and just preserving like the native fish, being the wild brook trout of New York State, is really a neat project to be a part of. And I think it will have impacts on how we do restoration design going forward, or how we interact with our consultants that are doing those designs. So that one comes to mind. We've also utilized through like our research assessment and monitoring, other monitoring needs like testing the Banks model here and developing erosion rate curves that then we can apply more locally, so we have a better understanding of how the different banks with different geology erode over time within our watershed, so that we can use that to refine predictions on sediment loading or the potential for a bank to retreat to the point of being problematic. There's a couple of ones that I think have been kind of interesting projects to be a part of that have influenced the way we kind of apply the science on the SMP side.
Kind of interesting to hear how, you started out when you just started working here, being so involved fishing on the Esopus and the tributaries, and the work of the stream ecosystem working group, and just interesting to hear that.
Yeah, no, I would encourage, so this is kind of a funny aside. I thought I was going to come up to the Catskills, and I'd already known like the history that the Catskills was kind of the birthplace of North American fly fishing and all that. And I thought I was going to come up and everybody was going to be fly fishermen. And I was really surprised to find that, like, yes, there were definitely fly fishermen amongst our ranks, but it's not the case. Like, everybody connects differently with the streams from a recreational point of view. But I will say, like, I think as a stream management professional, just spending more time on the water in non-professional settings is useful. So with fishing in particular, like, it's so much about reading the water, and that can really inform how I look at like a stream project. Like what type of water are we going to see in a different design once we put the stream back into that newly constructed channel, and like where are those little features that I think are going to be like fishy features that I would feel like I could go out there and pull a trout out of in the future. And so I think like that link between angling and spending time in the water has really helped me as a resource manager, and kind of changes the way I view the stream. And I think people can get there other ways, kayakers, stuff like that. It's just a matter of spending time doing things differently than just looking at it from like a stream management professional point of view. Really helps. So,
well, great to hear. I might have to go dust off the fishing rod and buy a fishing license after this.
That, or like just even with like you guys doing like the stream snorkeling and stuff, like you're spending time underwater looking at it through a whole different perspective, and all those things are important because it just gets you outside of like kind of your blinders on of looking at it through one lens. So I'd encourage anybody just to experience the streams in multiple ways, and it'll make you a better resource manager.
So you've spent some time on the stream.
A little bit.
A little bit of time on the stream through the years. You got any funny moments that have occurred while out in the field?
I'm sure there's a ton of them. I don't know. Like when you spend a lot of time out there, especially in the summer in the heat, like, it just gets a little slap happy by the end of the day. And just seeing like, I don't know, all the staff personalities and stuff change over like that type of experience has always been fun. I can't think of like a specific just funny thing, but we laugh a lot, so that's always good and keeps the job. That's the thing, like, you know, the assessment and monitoring crews gets to spend even more time than I'm out there. I'm usually out there during construction. Oh, here's a good funny one. Yeah, and I think you have a picture of it, Leslie. John from Fast Tracks, the big, tall, like, I don't know if he was like ex-Special Forces guy, big beard, just planted a kiss right on my cheek when Leslie was trying to interview us. And it like made me pause. And so it's pretty funny, especially knowing that it might be immortalized in photo. And that was on the Chichester projects, which was a fun project and challenging project, but fun project. So that was probably, that would have been our biggest restoration project that since the program had started.
We might have to find a way to edit that photo in as a little bit of a treat for everyone who listens.
There you go.
To this. So what are some of the lessons learned and takeaways you've accrued from working at AWSMP?
I mean, just to always look at the work that we do as a student of it as opposed to an expert of it. I know we're looked at locally as an expert, and certainly we have this really wonderful level of expertise in terms of applied fluvial geomorphology and just kind of stream science in general. But you really need to look at it, in my opinion, as a student, because there's just so many aspects to learn. And that goes back to what I said about like the diversity of like our backgrounds, geologists, hydrologists, natural resource management, ecologists, like all those pieces need to be brought together. And that's why it's impossible to learn it all in such a dynamic environment, that you really always need to look at it as like you're a student of the streams and there's always something to learn. Because if you lose that kind of intellectual curiosity, you're just not going to advance to the most well-rounded professional that you can be, in my opinion. Respecting the streams, that's something that is an important lesson to learn. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people learn it the hard way because of the potential to experience flooding. You come up here on the stream with these streams and see them when they're like a trickle and it's like a little babbling brook that sounds nice, but not realizing the sheer volume of water that moves through these streams under flood flows. So really kind of respecting the mountain streams. And then just understanding that when we interact with them as humans, we impact them. Like well-intended decisions, whether management decisions in the past, can lead to years, if not decades, of instability that are really hard to fix later on. So really being mindful about how you're going to disturb or interact with the stream is really important. And who knows, where will we be in terms of the state of stream science and the water resources kind of engineering work that we're involved in like 50 years. It's kind of be interesting to see, like looking back at the projects that we've even implemented and how there's so much room for the science to advance over the years.
So I know you have an office to clean out. So one last question is, what happens next for Adam Doan?
Well, I will be going to the private sector side after I leave here and working with one of the consultants that we've worked with a lot over the last decade plus. So that's kind of exciting, to know that I'm going to be able to wear a different hat but still be involved in the watershed and the work that hopefully this program's a part of, but even getting into some other watersheds that I haven't had an opportunity to experience. We're always in such a bubble here because of us being geographically confined to the Ashokan watershed, but it's nice to see other places and then learn from other areas. So I'm really looking forward to that aspect of my new job. So and then just knowing that I'll still get to be in touch with you all because I won't be too far. I'll still be in the Hudson Valley. So.
All right, well, great. Thanks for taking the time to sit down, and thank you for everything you've done for the program and with the program.
Thanks, Max. I really appreciate that. And it's been nice to hear the same from Tim and Heidi earlier today. So, we're really fortunate to have the coworkers that we have and these experiences that we've shared over the years. So, like I said, that's the hardest thing to leave. But it's been fun.